This time I'll call the Budget and Purchasing Committee meeting to order and ask Pat to call roll, please.
Kirby. Lewis. Here. Moon. Here. Mitchell.
Here.
Samples. Here. You have a quorum.
Okay, I'll ask John for the emergency evacuation.
Before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
I'll now ask if there's any public input on items on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item D, purchasing. This is for resolution regarding the surplus of personal property. Do I have a motion? Have a second? Second. Okay, open for discussion. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll ask for roll call vote, please.
Kirby. Yes. Lewis. Yes. Moon. Yes. Mitchell.
Yes.
Samples. Yes. Your motion passed.
Okay, item E, this is the minutes that need approval. They are in your packet. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? We'll do a voice vote on this. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Declare the motion passed. Finance, increase in transfers. Approve these items will go on to the commission. F1A, Sheriff's Office Jail Litter Crew, $2,200. Jeff? Okay. Have any questions? Any discussion? I'll ask for roll call vote.
Kirby. Yes. Lewis.
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Samples. Yes. Motion passed.
F2A, Schools, Fund 177, QSCAB, $8,300 to Heritage High School Auditorium for lighting. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Kirby.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Samples.
Yes.
Motion passed.
F2B, this is also part of the QSCAB, $20,000 to William Blount High School for pump house and water tank.
Send forward with positive recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Kirby.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Samples. Motion passed.
Item F2C, this is also part of that QSCAB, $2,000 for William Blount High School's 9th grade library. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion?
This, sir, $2,000, this is purchase books or?
I beg your pardon. Item C.
Yes, sir.
Item C, that is changing out the lights in the 9th grade library, the 9th grade academy. It's lighting in the library.
Do I have a motion and a second? Any more discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Kirby. Yes. Lewis.
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Samples. Motion passed.
And we move on now to items G.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request that
Okay.
if possible.
Okay. Been asked that item G2 be moved up. Do I have a second on that? No objection? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Item G2, school maintenance of effort.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On your agenda is an issue related to fiscal year 13-14 maintenance of effort of local revenues. Based on my understanding of state law and application of that law, the fiscal year 13-14, next year's general purpose school fund budget for local revenues must be equal to or greater than the current fiscal year 12-13 local revenues in our Fund 141 budget, as amended. The budget that has been submitted or prepared to this point for fiscal year 13-14 next year, based on my calculations and based on actual revenues through March for this year, trying to project into next year, is about $1.6 million short of being equal to or greater than the current year budget. So when I've referred to failing maintenance of effort over the last month or two, that's what I'm referring to. The current budget that we've turned in or submitted is $1.6 million short in those local revenue line items from the current existing budget. That number, I admit that number can change based on from here till the end of the budget process, based on better information, better figures, and as a lot of those local budgets are set, particularly sales tax, based on current year revenues and then projecting on top of that. So we still have 4 more months of sales tax revenues to come in for this year. Hopefully we'll have May in a couple of days. We'll know what May looks like. But based on the information we have today, my estimate is $1.6 million short. And I guess I just simply want to ask this committee if you've got any thoughts or ideas of how we or the commission or we are going to meet that maintenance of effort test. How are we going to get that maintenance of effort to a point where we can, we'll have a final budget that's turned in and approved that meets that requirement? So it's more of a question. I don't know what else how to ask that, but I'm here to answer any questions that I can related to that.
Troy, TCA section 49.2.203A states that we have to that maintenance of effort is required by Blount County for the schools, correct?
That is correct in my understanding of that, yes, sir.
And what happens if we don't?
I've asked that question of a couple of people at the state level, and the answer I get verbally is that the state may not approve our budget. Well, if they don't approve our budget, then what else can they do? The only thing I know they could do is withhold BEP funds until we get that budget the way it's supposed to be. That's all. That's the only information I know about that.
Go ahead.
Are there restrictions as to where this money comes from if we have to provide it?
It only has to. It only has to be a local revenue of some sort. I don't know. I don't think they're specific to any one local revenue.
Randy,
Let Randy answer that one. Randy, on the restrictions on where this money can come from or where it comes from. The test is the local revenue that we provide the school system. We, Blount County, the legislative body. That's what the test measures. You cannot, we've had some discussions with the comptroller's office about what can and can't be used in consideration for funding. And the context I've asked that question is the shared dollar. You know, what is available to a local funding body that doesn't have to be split with other governmental entities in the county? And the only one that anybody's given me any clear direction on is the TVA payment in lieu of taxes, which you already authorized and have given to the school system. That's the only local dollars that we get that does not have to be split based on my conversations with both Comptroller's Office and with CTAS.
My question is there a restriction as to the origin of the source of the money to meet the maintenance of effort? Is the restriction on the origin?
Can you use fund balance to meet this 1.6? You cannot directly use fund balance. You asked me that question, somebody did at the last meeting, and you asked me the question in the context, what money do we have available? And there's a court case, my understanding, and I don't have it, but it's a court case in Montgomery County in the state of Tennessee, where Montgomery County, as it's been related to me, actually appropriated fund balance for that purpose. And the state came back and disallowed that. Montgomery County lost the court case. The reason is you are taxing for one purpose, and then you have changed the purpose by which you appropriate the money at that point. Which is, I've had that discussion with the superintendent in Troy. That's what I thought we had available, but when following up with that with the comptroller's office, that's not available to us.
Directly or indirectly?
It's not available directly. I guess you could go through a bunch of machinations if you wanted to, but what you have to keep in mind is whatever you take from one hand, you have to replace it from the hand you took it from. And the issue that I think we have to keep in mind, whatever we do to address this matter this year, we have to keep next year in mind as well. If you use one-time sources of money, no matter what they may be, you've only addressed it for the current year. You've not addressed it on an ongoing basis for subsequent years.
But part of the reason that we are where we are is because we missed the estimate on the sales tax is down, and we missed the penny.
Yes.
So
those are the two driving reasons this year.
So if we did a better job of that next year, we may or may not have this issue to deal with.
If there would have to be some growth and expansion in both of those revenue sources.
Right.
And I guess that's, whatever we think is going to happen in the economy.
Or changing the number of pennies going.
Correct. That was the caution that the comptroller's office gave me. You just make sure you don't fall into that same territory that Montgomery County found themselves a few years ago.
What did they do to resolve that issue, do you know?
I've not seen the actual court case. Their caution was I asked them specifically, could fund balance be used to plug a hole in the current year? And they said that is a litigated matter that's been tried already, and Montgomery County lost that case. And I said, what's the premise? And the premise was, you basically are taxing for one purpose and spending contrary to that. You're giving more money to the school system than what you allocated pennies to give them.
But in this year's budget then going forward, we had a motion made last year. We were adopting the tax rate. Person made the motion to take 5 cents from debt service fund balance. It failed. But the allocation, when the allocation of the tax dollars made with the tax rate, then by default, you're looking at either one, cutting general county, or two, funding it using fund balance.
That's a fair statement. It goes to my point. If you, as Steve mentioned, you can change the allocation of pennies. If you do that, you're still slicing the pie. It's the same size pie.
Exactly.
So all you've done is fix a problem one place and created another one in another place.
Well, we're doing the same thing this year in debt service. We're proposing an unbalanced budget there using $1.44 million of debt service fund balance to make it work.
That's correct. We've shorted the debt service fund.
Right.
Good question.
To give them 1.6 million, how much will we actually have to give by the time we split those dollars? 3 million?
180, well, 180 something, 82,000, is that what penny's worth to the school system?
Yes.
So you're roughly, you got to raise roughly a dime to get them what they need. So approximately 10 cents.
That's the minimum. That will not fund the budget you have submitted to the mayor. That will still be, what will be the remainder? If you fund maintenance of effort, the remaining amount out there to be funded will be what? Based upon the budget that's with the mayor now from schools.
We have been saying all along, if the commission, or assuming that the commission meets its maintenance of effort, which we project at 1.6 million, would bring us to a revenue of 79.9, and so we've asked for 86,868. So the difference is Troy's figure in that. Hold on just a second. It's about $7 million. That's correct. Yeah.
Mr. Britt, you have an education committee, is that correct?
We do.
Thursday. There was a point of order raised, I believe in the resolution we had last meeting. The need is great, and the person there said that there's nothing to back up that statement. What do you discuss in the education committee? At $8 million to me is a pretty large amount of money, a large need.
Absolutely. And in that education committee meetings, we quite frequently discuss the needs. And that's one reason why in the past we've asked our principals to invite our education committee, as well as all members of the commission, as well as the mayor, to come to our schools and actually see that sermon instead of just hearing it. Well, and I think that we've had some positive responses as a result of that, but there's no question there's a need there.
And I apologize. You've been before this body and before the full commission to make that case more than once.
Yes, sir. I think it's important that we're here tonight because I think on our end, we've just been assuming that the commission would meet the maintenance of effort, but we really hadn't had a lot of substantive kind of conversations around it. So we felt it was very appropriate for us to come here tonight. Thank you for allowing us to be on the agenda so that we could have the opportunity to bring that to light and to have discussion.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I'd make another statement if I could, please.
Sure.
Is it your intent, and you're speaking for the board, and I apologize, to leave the current budget you have before the budget committee and the mayor? Is that going to be the budget? Is that going to stand?
Well, I can't speak for the board. I think the first step in this process is for the commission to meet the maintenance of effort. And then of course, we are supporting the wheel tax on top of that, which would get us somewhere about halfway there. And what I have said to the commission the last time that I was here before you, and Mr. Hasty asked the question. Now, just to remind you that what my answer was related to that in regard to your question, Mr. Moon, is that if, assuming that the commission meets its maintenance of effort, and should the wheel tax pass, then I will take that revenue back to the Board of Education, and we will do all that we can to balance the budget on that. So we still would have some cuts in our budget, but they certainly would not be to the drastic level of moving a major step behind. Please understand that we're spending or plan to spend about $82.6 this year on running our school system. And if we have to build a budget on $79.9, that's a significant step in the wrong direction. I mean, we're going to be cutting critical services out of what we do to serve children, especially when you consider 86% of our budget is people. That's a good question, and I thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll move to G1, grant applications. Alcohol saturation patrol roadside sobriety checkpoints grant, $75,284. Jeff, you want to enlighten us?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The A, B, and C are out of the Sheriff's Office. They are from the Governor's Highway Safety Office. They are grants that we've received in the past. For saturation is A, B is for the Dragon Patrol, and C is a local networking grant that we received to coordinate with the law enforcement agencies in the region. I know we're just on A, but I wanted to go ahead and, Mr. Mayor, and just hit on B and see if that's okay. And I'll answer any questions if y'all. Yes, sir. This is just a reapplication process, all three of these.
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Is this a roll call or voice vote? Roll call.
Kirby? Yes. Lewis? Yes. Moon? Yes. Mitchell?
Yes.
Samples?
Thank you.
Motion passed.
Item G3, which is the surveys of the boys, for the surveys for the Boys and Girls Club and the 5th Judicial Drug Task Force survey. D, did I miss?
G1D.
Okay.
Was not part of those grants.
Oh, okay.
From the ad hoc recycling committee.
That's Keep Blount Beautiful? Yes. Okay, all righty.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to send it on if favorable recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll ask for a vote. Roll call.
Take the roll call?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Kirby? Yes. Lewis? Yes. Moon? Yes. Mitchell?
Yes.
Samples? Motion passed.
All right. Now, 3A, and I guess 3A and B, both of these are surveys that I'm assuming, I understand the Boys and Girls Club, and that's from the Ad Hoc Committee on Lost Revenue. They're asking that we do a survey, and I'm assuming to cut that piece of property out. Is that correct, from the rest of the, how it's?
I'm sorry.
Okay. And the 5th Judicial Drug Task Force, Ron, is that to cut out the piece of property you all have?
It's the property we have is actually 2 lots. They are already separated, but we are wanting to move forward and pay that property off, and hopefully try to do a sealed bid to auction it to sell it within the next couple of months. And that's just going to be another step to go ahead and have it surveyed and all the markers put out prior to selling it.
Okay. All righty. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Any discussion? Both items.
One question. On G3, is that one of these two? $4,000 to do the survey. Do we have money in other contracted services for that as opposed to taking it out of fund balance?
Right now, it looks like we can pay for that without having to use fund balance, and then we just replenish it when we sell the property.
I'd rather take it out of other contracted services. It does specify fund balance and
Yeah. And I'd talked to Commissioner about that. If we had the money in an operating account, could we use that? And he said, whatever you determine is in the best interest of the county. So
if I don't need to amend, that's fine.
I would change my motion to leave to discretion of the finance director, whether it needs to be fund balance or an account.
Well, I'd rather amend it to an account if we know that it's in there.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Ron, your all's piece of property, it's already surveyed, it's split, is it already split?
That is correct, yes. It's two separate lots that
Okay.
that adjoin one another, but it is two lots, yes.
And it's already platted in those two separate lots, so it actually does, is it gonna have to be re-surveyed, or can it be sold as platted?
I think that it would be, it's already platted, obviously, and recorded, but I think that it's been several years. I'm sure that it would need to be resurveyed just to get the markers pulled back up so that they would be completely visible to any interested buyer.
Okay. On that situation right there, do we need to allocate funding for that? Because the 4,000 is just for the Boys and Girls Club.
I can do that, Mr. Mayor. I don't mean to interrupt, but we can take that out of the Drug Task Force budget. But the agreement that we've got with the county since 2007 somewhat requires the Drug Task Force to maintain anything that needs to be done on that property. So I can suggest that the Drug Task Force take that out of our existing budget.
Okay. Deal with them separate?
I would.
Okay. We're gonna, let's amend that to take 3A. Is that okay? Who had the motion and the second? Okay, we'll take these separately. Do I have a motion to accept 3A? Okay. I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Do we want to put the amendment on?
Well, I was gonna wait till I got to it and then add the amendment. We're on 3A. We'll do a roll call
On
vote.
3A?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Kirby?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Samples? Yes. Motion passed.
Okay, item 3B on the survey at the 5th Judicial Drug Task Force property. We need to amend that to say that will be paid for out of the Drug Task Force money. Is everybody okay with that? Do we need to go ahead and do another motion on it with the amendment? Okay. Okay, any discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Kirby? Yes. Lewis?
Yes.
Moon? Yes. Mitchell?
Yes.
Samples? Okay. Passed.
Okay, item G4, Randy?
Okay, we're going to do something a little different tonight. This LOC item that we have before you is our letter of credit extension, and it's related to our variable rate financing. We currently have 2 letters of credit for the E5A series and E1A series of debt. And I've asked Lauren Lowe, who is our financial advisor with Public Financial Management in Memphis, to join us by conference call. And I think you deserve, since you're paying for their expertise, you need to hear with your own ears what they have to say and not just rely on me. We were presented these extensions that you have before you by Cumberland Securities representing the Public Building Authority. And as you can tell, there are 3 signatures required to execute these. The extensions include a price break from the current letter of credit provider, which is BB&T, and they, in my opinion, I did not think that price break was what the market reflected, just with what I knew intuitively. So I called Lauren and asked her to research the matter and kind of give us some advice on what the market looks like, and in fact, is that a reasonable price, or should we get something better than that? So, Lauren, if you will, tell them what your counsel and advice is.
Hi, Randy. I just want to make sure, I guess, sound test-wise, that you all can hear me. Is that correct?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes.
Okay, good. And then I'm not sure, we also tried to do the WebEx. I'm not sure if you can see me. I'm trying to work with my computer and then also my phone system, which is on the other side of my office.
We can see you.
Okay, good. So I'll try to remember to speak to my computer, but hoping that you all can hear me. If you cannot, please ask me to repeat myself. Yes, Randy did provide the updated letter of credit fees that have been proposed by BB&T. We have been through a similar process with some of our other county clients within the state and have actually gone through a process of evaluating proposals in regards to cost over the last few months since the beginning of the year. The market has actually improved in regards to cost for our clients like Blount County. So we have suggested that if it is all your wishes as well as Randy's, that we would like to go through a process to evaluate the market, providers, and their costs in hopes of getting a better cost for the county through a request for proposal process.
So what I'm asking is for you to authorize the extension of both of these letters of credit with BB&T, with the understanding that we would immediately go out, if county commission approves them, we would go out then with a solicitation in the marketplace to see if we can get a better rate than what we're being quoted right now. Just so you will know, there is a cost associated with doing that. And Lauren, you may want to address the economics of that, what the break-even point would be. What would a rate need to approach for us to be no worse off than we are right now?
Sure. I will say this, that the process to go through an RFP in which PFM would work with the county to solicit proposals from banks and credit providers would not be at a cost to the county. The county does pay PFM a quarterly retainer in which we would do this process at no charge to the county. If the proposals come back to the county at a cost that's significantly less than what you have before you today via the extensions proposed by BB&T, we would do actually no matter what they come back at, we will do a break-even analysis in which we look to determine if it makes sense to pursue another bank to provide a letter of credit. There would be costs associated with pursuing another provider in the form of they would have their own bank counsel involved, bond counsel involved, PFM would be involved, which is my firm, to negotiate on behalf of the county. But only if it's to the better of the county, meaning that the cost was significantly below where we're at. It's the currently proposed 68 basis points. The break even that we have calculated, let me just pull it up real quick, would be in the range of, depending on which piece you're looking at, around 55 to 65 basis points. So they're not significant break even, they're not significantly less than what you are already being proposed. So we think this is a very good opportunity for the county to go through this process and evaluate the market. Like I said earlier, we have been through this process, and I will say with that window of 55 to 65 being the break-even point, I think that there's a real opportunity here because we've surveyed the market recently.
Lauren, if you would, tell the committee, is this a transaction that would attract only one or two or three letter of credit providers, or is there a healthy appetite for this type of a transaction in the marketplace?
Sure. I will say that the market has changed a lot over the last 5 to 6 years. However, it's actually improved, I would say, in the last year. We will see banks show up that are similar to BB&T, more regional, if you will, in regards to their presence. You will also see larger national banks like a U.S. Bank or Bank of New York show up for interest and liquidity. The Japanese banks have also been very active in this market, as well as some of the larger national banks are proposing a couple of different alternatives to hopefully reduce the cost for public entities like Blount County. My guess is we'll get anywhere from 7 to 10 banks that show up and submit proposals, which would be a really nice turnout for us to gauge what the right cost is associated with a 3-year letter of credit or liquidity. They're interchangeable.
Can I ask? Steve Samples, so you're telling us that there's not going to be any cost to the county to do this survey of 7 to 10 banks, or to get response from 7 to 10 banks?
Correct. If the county wishes to pursue these extensions, the letter of credits that you have with BB&T, the cost will go down. You're currently paying 75 and 88 basis points. They will be reduced to 63 effective June 1st. In the meantime, CFM will work with the county, go through a request for proposal process, will not be of a charge, but to just survey the market to determine if it makes sense economically to pursue another provider at a lower cost.
Thank you.
Lauren, at this time, on the market right now, what's the lowest basis points you've found?
It's a good question. I can't give you specifics of the bank and the entity, but 29 basis points for a 3-year facility.
29? Did you say 29?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
So, to your question, Steve, the actual solicitation for quotes would not cost us anything. It's included as part of our existing relationship with PFM. In the event we found an attractive response that is better than our break-even point, we will still pay costs for all the transactions, but the ongoing fee for the letter of credit itself will be reduced. And if we beat that 60, I'm just picking 60 as the basis points, if that's the break-even, then we net a savings this year, even after the cost of doing the transaction. But the subsequent 2 years, we get the full effect of that. Is that a fair summary, Lauren?
That is correct, yes. That's a good point to remind this group, is that you do pay this. This is a 3-year product and a fee, so you pay it annually for the next 3 years. You do pay it quarterly. Therefore, we would like to pursue this opportunity over the next quarter. But that is correct, Randy. You do pay that once a year. It's a yearly fee when we refer to the 68 basis points.
Lauren, Mike Lewis, one question. Is it your recommendation that the 3-year period would be the way to go, as opposed to, is there a longer term? I'm sure it's at a slightly higher rate, but would it be to our advantage to go any longer than 3 years, or is 3 years your recommendation?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I think what our suggestion would be to actually survey the market with the opportunity for banks to give us multiple proposals. The process that I just went through recently, we actually opened it up for 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, all the way up to 7-year proposals to come in. 3-year apparently seemed to be the sweet spot for the banks. They all proposed 3 years, and we saw some extend as far as 5. 5 is the longest that we saw. And then we had to step back with the county and say, okay, you're exactly right. For a longer dated facility, it does cost a little bit more. So what's the right approach in terms of how long you want to pay for this facility, and lock in that pricing? So I think that we would open it up for the banks to give us multiple options, and then have to step back with the county and evaluate multiple time frames and the cost associated with them.
Okay, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I would think a 5-year instrument at this point in time with the rate environment we're in might be pretty attractive as well.
Correct.
Question for Randy. We have an LOC with J.P. Morgan. When will that one terminate?
That was just agreed to, I think, when I got here, so 1 year's run on it, or close to a year, so it was a 3-year deal, so I guess it has close to 2 more years.
We want to make sure we stagger these ladder or whatever.
Yeah, you might, that's a good point that Commissioner Moon brings up, Lauren. You might want to talk about, is there an advantage to stagger these versus having them all lumped together with similar expiration dates?
Yes, that's a great question. And I will say, we take the approach that it does make sense to stagger the expiration of these facilities. It's the idea of not putting all your eggs in one basket and them spoiling on the same day. The rating agencies look favorably upon an issuer's ability to watch these facilities roll off at different points and deal with them as they roll, not them all coming due at one time. Administratively, it can be a burden, as well as you're subject to just whatever market you happen to be in at that time. You really lose some negotiation power at that point.
My sentiment is there's no downside from my standpoint in giving you whatever counsel I can give you. We gain immediate benefit of the extensions to lower our price immediately. We also solicit the marketplace to see if we can further lower our cost for the remaining 9 months of this year and then the subsequent 2 to 3 year period of time, or maybe 5 if we can get that type of a response. So I think it's a no-brainer. And we have consulted with bond counsel, and they have advised us that we can do this. We pay these fees, as Lauren stated, quarterly in advance. So if we extend this, the first payment we would make would be in June, and it would be at 68 basis points, I think, versus the contractual rate of 75, I think is what the E1A, and I think 88 on the E5A component. So I don't see any downside. Bond counsel's advised us that we can terminate the agreement, so our exposure is the first quarter if you approve the extension. You would have some people that might suggest to you that this matter doesn't have to come back before you. I differ with that opinion, and that's why I'm bringing it to you. I think you have a right to know this and understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And you pay these folks, and you deserve the right to ask them whatever you want to ask them. Is this something we need to vote on, or is this no, I think to execute on this, I'd like the direction of the commission. It'd be my advice, and you've heard your paid professional advice, that we extend the 2 series, E1A and E5A, with BB&T, but immediately solicit the marketplace and survey the marketplace for potentially a replacement letter of credit, and that doesn't mean BB&T couldn't bid on it.
I'll make that motion, move that to the agenda.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Do a roll call vote. Okay.
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Go ahead.
Kirby? Yes. Lewis? Yes. Moon? Yes. Mitchell?
Yes.
Samples? Motion passed.
Any other advice you have for us, Lauren?
Get out of there early.
Thanks for your time, Lauren.
I appreciate y'all doing this via WebEx and conference call, and thank you to your IT department.
Thanks.
Lauren, you've taken us to the next step. Now we can Skype.
That's right. That's right.
Technology's here.
That's right.
Thanks, John.
Okay, you have the finance report now, item H in your packet. I'll ask now for any items not on the agenda, input from any items not on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Do I hear so move? Okay, I'll move for adjournment. We'll move into the budget workshop. Okay. I'll ask for a roll call vote, or roll call.
Kirby? Lewis? Moon? Mitchell? Samples? You have a quorum.
Okay, we'll jump to item C, and that's just discussion and possible action on the fiscal year 13-14 budget. And Randy, you want to talk to us about the insurance cost?
Yeah, I've just got a couple of things that just to update you. It's not new business as much as just for information. You may be asking what, if any, impact does the recommendation from the HR committee to the full commission have on the budget? It won't have any budgetary impact as far as health insurance is concerned. We're moving to a 4-tier plan, and that impacts the employee side of things. The employer contributions will still remain the same as proposed in the current budget. And the only thing that will have a slight impact is they're recommending that the contribution on the employee dental be $24.66. It's currently $25, so there'll be a few cents adjustment that we'll make if the commission approves this. And I've got that here just so you'll have benefit of what that impact is on the budget per se. What I wanted to do today is get a sense of kind of where you'd like for me to go. We've got, what's the summary piece? We've got kind of a summary of where we are right now on the respective budgets as far as revenues and expenses are concerned, where we're out of balance on any of those funds. And I just thought if you could kind of give me some direction on where you would like for me to move toward, that I can get you information that you're comfortable with voting on, that's where I'd like to be. Let's just think about the calendar for a second. Right now, the budget calendar that you've approved and that's been submitted to the commission is we would have a June public hearing, and then we backed off of that based on the publication date that we would need to meet to adhere to that public hearing date. We need to publish the budget by March 23rd. May 23rd, I'm sorry. And we would respectfully like at least a day or two to make whatever changes to get it ready. It has to be in their hands by Tuesday noon to meet the publication deadline of the 23rd. So we've got a little over a week. So I'd just like some direction on what information you need me to provide you so that we can kind of get in a position to give you something to recommend on to the full commission. And basically what this summary is that I've handed out to you from a revenue and expenditure standpoint is basically the status quo budget. It doesn't take into consideration any of the supplemental requests that have been made for salary increases or any additional staffing or anything else. I don't believe we've included anything in there. Or capital. It doesn't include any new requests for anything. This is the status quo budget. So you can see on the general county right now, we're out of balance about $88,000. Fund 114, we're $1,300 overstated. Revenues in excess of expenditures. Fund 115, we've got a little surplus there. We're a little short on Fund 128, and then we're short on the general purpose school fund. The drug court, that's the one where they've been using fund balance for the last several years And now we're getting to the point where they don't have that fund balance to rely on.
16,467,000
Is the use of fund balance, and the conversation we just had helps address that a little bit. I mean,
Correct.
I'm all about finding nickels and making dimes if we can. If I can find enough quarters to make a dollar, I want to do that too.
Can we find 1.44 million?
I don't think so.
Okay. But that's your recommendation. That's 151, what you put forth is your recommendation for the next budget year.
In the absence of any willingness to raise property taxes, I don't have any other choice. I mean, we restrict that fund balance for the use of debt service. That is a matter that I've discussed with the rating agencies. They're aware we're doing that until such time as our tax base grows or our rate grows.
But yet that's what you're recommending as an appropriation.
Yes.
How the commission funds that recommendation is yet to be determined.
That's correct. Which is why I'm bringing it to you. If you've got something different, I'm all ears.
Right. Currently, it's 43 cents.
We're 3.5 cents short there, 4 cents.
Exactly. Yeah. And your predecessor recommended a rate of 47 for one budget year, and then I think that's what he was going to propose the next budget year, but it wasn't accepted. But it could be as late as June the 11th, though, before we have solid information on 141.
That's correct.
Have we given any thought to a Plan B?
If that's something you would like for us to consider, we'd be more than happy to make a suggestion on Plan B. In fairness, that's the path we're traveling right now because that's what's been approved. I don't think when this was submitted, anybody anticipated all the activities that have taken place at this point.
Are you saying we got to have a meeting next week to nail the budget down then?
I'm suggesting to you we're going to be available as much as you need us to be available. I'm in consideration of your time. I would just ask that if given our current schedule, I think we need to have some action taken by a week from this Friday to meet the publication notice. Based on the calendar that's been adopted to this point. So that would be no later than the 17th of this month.
Randy, for this to be a status quo budget, item 101 is still showing up $88,339 too much. For it to be a truly status quo, do we not need to cut that out?
Well, when I say status quo, what I'm talking about, there's no additional staffing, there have been no additional revenues, and that's just the way the numbers turned out. I mean, we've not tried anything differently. Our revenues, as it's been stated multiple times here in our committee meetings, we're deficient on revenues in the property tax. We're also deficient on sales tax, but it doesn't impact the general county. So it's status quo, to your question, Mayor, it's status quo on the property tax. We're not reassigning any property tax differently than what was approved by the commission. That's just the difference in the yield. If we had if we had done a better job on the property tax, we'd be in surplus right now on a status quo basis.
The estimate of the value of the penny.
That's correct.
Based upon a lot of data pulled together. So I don't want anyone to misunderstand that there's been a failure to collect property tax. That was basically made at a high percent of recovery. Is that correct?
That's correct. The assumption was erroneous on what the value of a penny was worth. Collection rate's still coming in very sound. I feel very comfortable with the 96% collection rate that we've estimated for next year, so I have no problem with that. We're sound there. No, I'm proposing that we not act any later than Friday the 17th. And what I'm suggesting is we're going to make ourselves available if it's better for you to meet on another day of the week, if it's better for you to meet in the morning, noon, late afternoon. We'll do whatever we can to accommodate your calendars. If you acted by the 17th, I've got a couple of days then to make whatever changes and get the publication notice ready on what would be recommended to the full commission.
Is the 10th too early then? No.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I'll have it.
I'm sorry. 13.
Monday the 13th.
that's when you want to meet, we'll meet.
That's what I recommend.
I second that, Mr.
13th, okay with everyone? Gerald?
Yes, sir.
Steve's all right with you?
Yes.
Any other discussion on this, Randy, would you like to talk to us about?
No, I'm here to,
Do we have anything on these?
no new information other than what we just handed out to you. I would just encourage you to look at any of those. I don't know where we're going to get the money, but I just encourage you, if there's some of those supplemental requests that are priorities, if you'd let me know that, to where we can recast the budget and make it available to you on that Monday so that it'll be up to date for you, it would be helpful to me to do that. Yes, I would welcome any information and guidance you can give me personally so that we can have it as prepared as we can for your consideration.
We'll take a look at those because there's Courthouse being one of them.
Yeah.
Keep the rain from pouring in.
Do we have a time for Monday?
You tell me. I'll be here.
5:30. We'll all work around Mike's time here, 5:30.
Now, do we want to call that a special meeting of the Budget Committee, which will differ from a workshop?
You gonna have any notice problems? Give them adequate notice, 5 days prior to?
That's a week. I think we can make that, can't we? Joel, can we make that?
Is it going to be a workshop or
Yeah, workshop. We're still deliberating on policy to take, so notice.
Does something need to come out of here Monday?
That's the difference.
better be ready Monday to make?
If it's a workshop.
It'd have to be a workshop, you can't.
Yeah, but we
Special
can't.
call meeting.
That's the 170. Yes, we will. It's all budget. It's all budget.
Workshop.
But if it's not a special call meeting, we can't move anything out of it.
So is it a workshop?
It probably must be a special call meeting if it was gonna get anything.
Special call meeting of the Budget Committee and discussion on the budget and possible recommendation to the full commission. Possible action. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the way the call needs to read here.
Okay.
To be legal, I guess we gotta do it.
For anything tonight.
If you want your vote to count.
5:30. Anybody else have anything on discussion? I'll move for an adjournment.
So moved.
Move adjourned.